All right. Here's an example of a function that happens in real life. Okay. And it should be noted that this function is very specific to which person you are. Okay? So this function is for me, and I'm calling it s as a function of Joe, or sorry, s sub Joe, which means, right, this is the scare function for Joe, or the size function for Joe, and it takes an animal and some other stuff. So let me list some other stuff. So it takes an animal and a location. You guys want the story behind this example?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I was driving into work one day. I used to live up in Soulsbyville. Now I live in downtown, but it doesn't actually matter. I was driving to work one day, down 108, and my phone starts ringing, and then a fire truck and an ambulance both pass me, code 3, like lights and sirens on, right? My wife is calling, and I pick up the phone, and she says, "We have a problem." Right?
Okay.
I have just seen a fire truck and an ambulance go past, and I get this, "We have a problem." So, honey, what's the problem? Like, do I turn around right now, or do I wait a second and see what she has to say? She says, "There's a giant snake in the house." And I'm like, well, she probably didn't set it on fire to kill it. She's not a fan of snakes. Me either, frankly. But so this is the function that gives you the size inflation factor for an animal in a location when it surprises you. Okay? Because she says there's a giant snake in the house, right? And I come home and there's an alligator lizard that's 8 inches tall. And it made some sense. Like, when you're surprised, right, by a creature, there's a certain inflation factor that happens in your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is my attempt to model that thing. This is not going to actually be a great function, right? Because what I'm going to end up doing is some, like, a whole bunch of cases, right? So I'm going to say something like equals, and I'm going to go, well, what should it equal at the outset, right? Like, just how big is an animal at all?
1.
Perfect. Because this is going to be a scaling factor, right? So we're going to go with 1 is how big the animal was to start with. Cool? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I'm going to use something that's a little bit funky here, but really all I mean is I'm going to turn these on and off, right? So I'm just going to use a symbol that's like this thing, and this just means this is on or off. You guys cool with that? Mm-hmm. And this is not actually what this symbol will mean later anyway. I'm just using some symbol. Okay? So, I'd like to introduce, actually maybe we'll do this. Let me just put in factors, and you guys can assume that they're on or off depending. Is the animal in the house? How much would that add to your size estimate? Right, like
out of 10 or out of 5? Like, come on.
Percentage, right? Yeah, so we're doing percentage increase, right? So like, if you open your closet and there's an animal in it, are you like, wow, animal?
Yeah.
Like versus being outside, right?
Yes.
Like
You
if you
don't
lift
expect it
something
to
up outside and there's a squirrel under it, you're gonna be like, yeah, there's a squirrel under it, whatever.
But there's a squirrel in your bathtub.
But if you, yeah, exactly. You open the shower curtain, there's a squirrel in there. You're gonna be like, whoa, right? So I'm personally, and this is personal, right? Personally, I believe I get like a 20% increase in size if it's in the house. And probably another 10% on that if it's in the bathroom. Like, for some reason, finding an animal in the bathroom is more startling to me than finding it, like, on the back porch.
Like, this is my vulnerable place.
Exactly, yeah. There should probably also be a chunk of this function that depends on how much clothing you're wearing and do you have shoes on. Right? Because, like, if there's a little lizard in the house and I have shoes on, like, whatever. I own you, lizard. If I don't have clothes on, like, that's scary, right? Like, it could bite you or something. And for me personally, I have this thing about, like,
Is it a mammal?
if it's a mammal, I'm not that scared. You know? Like, so I'm thinking this probably goes down if it's a mammal.
A bear.
Yeah, I mean, like, a bear in my, okay, so keep in mind, right, it doesn't really matter how big the bear is in my house. I'm still going to be freaked.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a good size estimate for the bear.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, yeah, there's a big bear in the house. Like, that's scary. I'm with that, right? But I'm not going to overinflate the bear just because it surprised me. But like snakes, I'm really going to overinflate lizards and snakes. The thing I super overinflate is scorpions.
Nope.
This is like this basketball.
And it doesn't even have to be a scorpion, it just has to look like one. And for me, that's like a 400% increase.
Shit, man.
I happened to surprise myself with a wind scorpion in a buddy's garage once. You guys seen these things?
Nope.
Oh yeah, they're like camel spider. They look like a scorpion kind of crossed with a tarantula.
Without a stinger.
Yeah, they don't have a stinger tail, but they're terrifying and they're fairly big and they have this like giant jaws on the front of them. So, yeah. Needless to say, running, shrieking like a small girl who won a ballet recital. This is not good.
It's a very positive
If I did a
comparison.
3D image of a scorpion because I work at a pet store.
Whoa. Whoa.
That would be cool.
That'd be so sick.
As long as I'm sure it's dead, it's fine.
Well, what if I bring a live one in?
I'll probably smash it.
3D
Then I'll
printed
have to pay
camera.
for it.
Okay, so do you guys kind of get this idea of this function?
Yeah.
Right, like I'm not doing a great job detailing to you exactly where the input and the output go and how exactly these numbers are arrived at, right? But I'm just kind of ballparking, like this is a function that takes something that happened to me in the world and registers my shock to it.
Uh-huh.
Do you guys believe that such a function exists?
Per person?
Yeah, like for you individually.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that function is this thing that we're talking about, is it actually a function? Like, does
Has
one
something to gumball
input
back.
give you one and only one output?
No.
One input is an animal and a location. Right?
Yep.
Then I'd say yeah, it's a function.
I think I'm with you, because that's going to happen once, right? Like, you're going to find this thing, and you're going to be surprised or not. Like, that might change your function for future viewings of this same animal and location pair, but I'm willing to say that these are unique.
Like if someone puts a squirrel in your bathtub every day, you'll eventually get used to it and not be so shocked.
Yeah, and that might be that would be a good reason to say, yeah, this might not be a function. Like, it might just be a more general rule,
I think it's
right?
I think it's under the assumption that you're suppressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys all kind of with that? Okay, so that's a thing that you might want to think about, right? When you're designing a real world thing, you might want to think, is this actually a function? Is there one input going to give me one and only one output? Is it possible that I could be two different levels of surprised at the same time? Probably not, right? That would be weird. You guys cool with this idea?
Mhm.